Good afternoon, folks. This is Robert Chappell, Executive Editor, Madison365, with your daily update for December. I almost said September. December 17th. One more time, the COVID numbers look very similar to yesterday's. There is the one sort of measure that's kind of bouncing up and down every day is the daily percentage of positives, which also means that the number of actual cases is bouncing around a little bit. It's not varying wildly, but the 7-day averages of almost everything are really steady, which is kind of a mixed bag, right? They're not going down, but they're not going up, you know. So if you have questions as we go through the numbers here, feel free to um, feel free to feel free to drop questions in the comments. We'll just go through some numbers here quick. Today we have 3,643 new cases, which is still a lot, right? That's more than yesterday. Yesterday we had 2,400. The day before that we had 3,500. The day before that we had 2,100. So it's kind of bouncing up and down, but not very much. Today we did have almost 11,000 tests, which is the most we've had over the past 4 days. We had 12,000 back on the 13th. But since then it's been much lower. So 3,600 cases on 11,000 tests is about a 33% positive test rate. Yesterday that was 26. The day before that was 48. Before that it was 29. Before that it was 23. So that one again has been bouncing around a little bit. But that 7-day average of both the number of people who are testing positive and the number of tests that are returning positive results have been very steady for over a week, really. Now these numbers were going up sharply until like mid-November, like just before Thanksgiving, really. They peaked at about 35. Excuse me. Actually, a little bit like the 17th of November, so not quite right before Thanksgiving, but getting in toward Thanksgiving, they were peaking at a little bit over 35. Today, that number is 27.8, meaning in the past 7 days, 27.8% of people who've gone to get tested have tested positive. So, a little bit more than 1 in 4. In terms of the numbers of tests, which is slightly different, because many people get tested more than once in a week, or get even 3 or 4 times in a week. The total number of tests that are coming back positive is 10.7%. And again, that number has been steady for 5 or 6 days. That was like 11.3 5 days ago. Came down a little bit and has kind of stayed right there at 10.7. Again, good that it's not going up, bad that it's not going down. Right? That 10.7 number really needs to be 3 or less to feel like we're really fully, mitigating this thing, right? So, those are the 7-day numbers. Now, the other bad news number today is 60 more deaths. 60 more deaths. 11 of those are in Milwaukee County. There was one death previously reported in Rock County that was taken out of the data. So our total confirmed death toll goes up by 59, and it is now 4,200 Where'd it go now? I can't find it. Sorry. 4,255 is the current total death toll. Our 7-day daily death average is another one of those 7-day averages that has been really steady. It's 44.4 right now. It's 44.1 yesterday. It's been right in that sort of mid-40s, low to mid-40s for a while. The 14-day and the 30-day average are both 50. So when those are both the same, you know that we've been, number of deaths per day has been pretty steady. And again, this is not necessarily the exact number of people who have died every day, but these are the, on average, we've had 50 deaths reported every day. And we're finding that a particular death can take up to like 3 weeks to make it into the state database. It just takes that long. So, there may be more than 50 people dying every day right now. There may be fewer. But we won't know that until, for a few more weeks now. So, anyway, the fact that that's not going up also, is okay. It's good. We'd rather see it go down. We'd rather not be losing 44 people every day or 50 people every day. But that's where we are right now. Now, in terms of where these deaths occurred, it looks to be pretty spread out. Looks like 21 different counties reported at least one death today. 11 of those are in Milwaukee County, and then the second highest is Winnebago and Racine, each with 5. And then La Crosse County reports 4. Wood, Waukesha, Kenosha counties all report 3. Walworth, Vilas, Trempealeau, Outagamie, Oneida, Jackson, and Grant all report 2. Then Waupaca, St. Croix, Sauk, Portage, Monroe, Marquette, Manitowoc, Fond du Lac, Eau Claire, Columbia, Clark, and Calumet each report 1. So that's the 60 deaths that are reported today. Hospitalizations is another bit of good news. Hospitalizations continue to fall. 47 fewer today than yesterday. Current hospitalized population is 1,363. ICU population also went down by 16 to 298, and I feel like that's the first time in a while that we've had fewer than 300 people in the ICU. So that's decent news. It does not mean, and do not assume, that means hospitals are doing okay, because they're not. Staff shortage is still a significant issue in many hospitals, especially rural urban hospitals. Places in like Madison, there's 3 hospitals, but they're all taking on patients from surrounding counties. Like people who are hospitalized in Madison, for example, are not all from Madison. Same thing goes in like Appleton, Green Bay, Milwaukee. You have populations coming from surrounding counties and can overburden those hospitals. So you have those 1,363 people are kind of concentrated in certain spots. And we're still at a point where like 30% of hospitals are reporting critical staff shortages. So it doesn't necessarily matter that there's beds available if there's no medical staff to care for folks. And, if the population is going down, but the staff is also going down, the available staff, because the staff are getting sick. They're burning out. They're having a hard time. So, and I continue to hear from folks on the front lines. And unfortunately, I can't write a story about it because these folks are scared of losing their jobs. And if I say, and the problem is I could use an anonymous source. I don't mind doing that. But a lot of times, even if you say a nurse at blank hospital, there's a worry that hospital administration will be able to figure out who that person is, and they might get in trouble. So, and I completely sympathize with people in that situation. But I am hearing from people every day that it's still really hard out there. That even though our hospital population is going down, and that is, that's unquestionably good news, it doesn't mean the hospitals are doing okay.
Fire tablet.
Sorry about that. So, all I'm saying is, it's good news that the hospital population is going down. It doesn't mean everything's fine. All right. I think that is all in terms of COVID. Actually, one other thing I'll mention. I've mentioned this a couple times before, but in terms of where the new cases are today, Milwaukee County, as usual, has the most cases, 740. But there are 17 counties that have higher per capita new cases today. And it's the rural counties where this thing is spreading the most. When you think of it in terms of per capita, right? Based on population rather than just raw number. So Menominee County only has 11 new cases today. Not a big deal, right? Well, that's the highest in the whole state in terms of new cases per 100,000 residents. That's 234 new cases per 100,000 residents, because Menominee County is very sparsely populated. Right? So 11 cases in Menominee County is like 1,500 cases in Milwaukee County. Right? Does that make sense? So Menominee, Iowa, and Barron County are all really rural. They're the top three. And then Rock County is somewhat less rural. It's pretty rural still, but you got Janesville and Beloit there. So they're at 103 per 100,000. And then Kewanee, Greene, Pierce, Clark, Richland, Sauk, Marinette, Jackson, Fond du Lac, Sheboygan. Fond du Lac and Sheboygan are larger towns, but still pretty rural counties. Dunn County, Pepin County, Bayfield County, and then Milwaukee County. So that's the hierarchy of where this thing is spreading the most in terms of per capita as share of population, which is important to know, important to understand. Corey asks, do we still have patients at the field hospital? Give me 10 seconds and I will tell you. I'm pretty sure that we do. And again, this is another indication that the hospitals may not be okay. Because, that this field hospital was designed as overflow for patients who are recovering, but not quite ready to go home yet. But if a hospital needs the room, they'll ship them to this hospital, and there are still 5 people there. Not terrible, right? That place is built for 500, and it's been as high as 23, I think was the highest it's been. But the fact that there are 5 people there means that at least 1 or 2 hospitals who've had to offload a couple people. Right? So there's a couple hospitals that are basically at capacity. So, we're not seeing that horrible crush where even the field hospital is overrun, but we're still at that sort of at the precipice there. We're almost there. So thank you, Corey, for the question. I think we're going to take a short break, then I'll have a couple other stories and news items for you that you should know about. So do not click or scroll away. We will be back right after this. Yes, you would. Okay, thank you for staying with us. The one other sort of national news item I wanted to mention, and I accidentally put the photo up early, is that the President-elect Joe Biden continues to fill out his cabinet, and he made a pretty significant announcement today in that New Mexico Congressperson Deb Holland is going to be his nominee for Secretary of the Interior, which is a job that handles, natural resources, national parks, national land, oil drilling rights, and that kind of stuff. And this is significant because Deb Holland was the first Native American elected to Congress. Only 2 years ago, in 2018. She is a member of the Pueblo of Laguna Nation, and she, as I mentioned, was the first Native American woman to serve in Congress. And she will be, if she's confirmed, she will be the first Native American to serve in a cabinet. So that's a significant appointment, not only just for it being the first, but to be an Interior Secretary, right? Where you are basically you're the steward, or the government agency that oversees the stewardship of the lands that were there's no sort of about it, that were stolen from her ancestors, right? So it's a significant nomination in many respects, and a lot of folks here in Wisconsin, a lot of Native American folks here, and others are tremendously excited about it, and I hope I hope you are too, and I hope we'll see how the confirmation goes. Like I'm not aware of anything that would trip up her confirmation. Unless if the Senate is still in Republican hands and they just want to be difficult about everything. Corey asked a wonderful question. No, she was not. She was not. Her position. She was a presidential appointee, but she was not a cabinet secretary. She was in the Nixon administration and the Clinton administration, in the Bureau of Indian Affairs and another agency that I'm not remembering right now. And I'm sorry, I'm not remembering it. But she was a presidential appointee, and in cabinet agencies. But her position was not a cabinet level position. She would not have been. She would not have been in the cabinet meetings and that kind of thing. Terrific question, though. And thank you for reminding us of Anya Dear, who is still around. And it's funny, you get somebody like that who's she's almost 90 years old now. And a couple years ago, I tried to get an interview with her for just to do a feature on her. And she's like, nearly 90 years old, and obviously has lived this amazingly accomplished life. If you don't know Anya Dear, look her up. And as Margie says, read her memoir. She's amazing. But she's like too busy to be interviewed. It was very difficult to schedule an interview with her because she's still just busy all the time. She's involved in so many things. So anyway, it's very cool that we'll have a Native American in the cabinet, assuming that she gets that her nomination gets approved. Anya Dear was also the first ever elder in residence at UW. Year before last at University of Wisconsin, they have a new program where they have a Native American elder as a person in residence on campus to interact with and to support and to mentor students. She was the first of that for a semester year before last. All right, last thing I'll say is I'm going to. I know Catherine. Yeah, she was. You are correct, Catherine. She was the head of the Bureau of Indian Affairs, I believe, in the Clinton administration. But she also had a relatively high position in the Nixon administration, and I cannot remember what that was. And I'm embarrassed, and I apologize that I can't remember what it was. But she's been. She's obviously been, and she ran for Congress, and has served in a wide variety of public service roles. So anyway, the last thing I want to mention is, once again, we have about 2 weeks left in our NewsMatch campaign. We've raised a little over $9,000. No, close to $11,000 now. I know that because I just we used to have an office downtown. We used to have an office in a co-working space downtown Madison. Pre-COVID, that co-working space has since moved and has become too expensive for us, and we're not having meetings anymore. We're meeting on Zoom, so we don't really need an office right now. So anyway, what that means is, like, once a week, still once every 10 days, I go downtown and I stop by the post office and just pick up our mail, which today included, a couple of advertising payments and one check from American Family Insurance, who's a big supporter of ours, for their 2021 sponsorship, for which we appreciate them. They've been with us since the beginning, really. They just kind of went all in, supporting us and believing in what we're doing, and just saying, here's our sponsorship for the year, and writing the check and just letting us grow with that. So, but their check for next year was in the mail today, which is always nice to see. But we also got, I don't know if you can see this, a very nice thank you note. And I'm not going to disclose the name of the person, but to the reporters and staff at Madison365, thank you for bringing an important voice to journalism. I rely on your email news every day. And it was accompanied by a check, a donation. And I've been asking you, for the last couple of months to go to Madison365.org/donate and make your donation. But if you'd rather drop a check in the mail, that's fine too. Every donation we get right now gets doubled, because the thing is, like, that check that came with that card, it was a nice, generous donation, and these folks at the Knight Foundation and the Democracy Fund and the Facebook Journalism Project are all pooling money to match that check. So that check that this nice person sent us is going to go twice as far for us. And you can do that same thing right now. So she relies on our email every day, right? If you don't get our email, you should sign up for it. It comes at 5 o'clock every day, and it's got every story that we publish that day, and it's just a nice little roundup. But you obviously rely on this every day. On me coming on here and telling you about how things are going, and you can ask questions. And, if that's important to you, think of how much you would pay for that. The whole point of this thing, of Madison365, is that you need to be informed, and you shouldn't have to pay for it, right? And it's important for us, and that's kind of part of our mission, really, is that we're never going to charge you money for the information you need, because it's just something you need. But it doesn't mean it's free for us. I like to say, the free press isn't free, because everything you see, everything that we do, everything you read on our sites, we pay somebody to do that. Like, these are professional journalists. I am a professional journalist. Dave is a professional journalist. Aomi, Fatumata, Malik, they're all professional journalists. And we pay them for their work, and for their expertise, and for their experience. And that, truly, truly, is where most of our budget goes. Like I said, we don't have an office. Post office boxes are not very expensive, But that's what you pay for. Is you pay for this every day, for that email every day, for the stories that you see at Madison365, for the podcasts you get from Madison365. All of that is what's wrapped up in our annual budget. So if you think you would pay $5 a month for that, would you? Like, if we charge $5 a month, could you do that? If so, why not do it? It's voluntary. We're not charging you for it, but you could do that. You could subscribe to Madison365 for $5 a month, $10 a month. I don't know. Whatever you can do. Whatever your privilege allows you to do would allow us to continue providing this free for folks who can't afford to pay for a news subscription, but who still need the news, right? So that is all. I just wanted to share that beautiful thank you note with you. I shared that with the staff today. I took a picture of it and sent it to the staff just to let them know that people out there appreciate what they're doing. And you can help us. You can help me show my staff how much you appreciate what they do every day. By just, $5 a month, $10. $5 one time helps a lot. Because you know what? You give us $5, they give us $5, we get 10. It's that easy. So I appreciate your time. I appreciate you listening to my donation pitch every day. And I hope you have a wonderful evening. And I will see you again right back here tomorrow.
This is 365 Media.